to be called Cassandra. It was very valuable because I had children and I had community, and if I had completely just been called Cosmic Skywalker or whatever, some spiritual translation, I would have been deemed completely like I had lost myself. And in this system of where we go in and we change our names, you have to really know who you are to do that. And permission was not granted to do that because it would cause harm if I changed my name. And that realization came later. So in that moment, I just accepted that my name I could keep was Cassandra, and that I would know my soul family because they would really call me by that name and they would know me. So there was a key code in there that I as I was laying there and having the purest channel that I possibly could, like having masculine and a pure heart-centered channel open up. It was reading the code of the consciousness versus channel coming from somewhere else. It's the best way I can describe it. And one of the things that I did ask was through this channel and this blessing was, what is my name? Because I could not go back and be Cassandra because I knew that wasn't who I was. And I had this thought so strongly. It was interesting because when I was there, I was back in the plasma, and it was like in a whole opening of a portal that I could question everything in, and it was very fluid, and I knew there was answers there for me in code. And so it was like reading a code, and I asked this person who was giving me the channel to give me the answer of who my name was. But it was very quick. It was so fast, right? When I asked, and the moment that I put the question there with my mind, I got an answer from him. And I was told that I asked the question in my mind, what's my name? Who am I? Because I'm not going to live this Cassandra. And immediately when I verbalized this only in my mind, the voice came from him that said, you will be called Cassandra. You will keep your name Cassandra. You will take that name on, and you must use that name. And also, those that really know you will know you by that name. I accepted that answer because it was very complete. It was the message that I needed to. And it was so perfect and pure because in that moment, I still hadn't really lived out the life of Cassandra. And it was by the graciousness and intelligence of consciousness that would make sense that I would come back and use that name. As in spirituality and things that go, when people change their name often, because you don't feel like your name, because your name is just a symbol that's given to you, oftentimes unconsciously by a preference. And then we start to identify with our name. And I didn't identify with this being's name because they had actually identified themselves as Cassandra, as something like I loved that they had this name Cassandra because it drew attention and all of those things, but they didn't, it was just because a constructed script, and I didn't want to participate with that. So when I knew my name to be called Cassandra, it was very valuable because I had children and I had community, and if I had completely just been called Cosmic Skywalker or whatever, some spiritual translation, I would have been deemed completely like I had lost myself. And in this system of where we go in and we change our names, you have to really know who you are to do that. And permission was not granted to do that because it would cause harm if I changed my name. And that realization came later. So in that moment, I just accepted that my name I could keep was Cassandra, and that there would be, I would know my soul family because they would really call me by that name and they would know me. So there was a key code in there and that I won't go into, but that was very good. It was just I knew, okay, that part's complete. And then I would ask other things and he would just say the answer, or he would track what I was seeing and then show me things. And I was able to understand many things of what to look for during my walk-in experience that would help me along the way. And I'm not really going to share those here in this video. They'll be shared later on, which helped me know, like a roadmap. It helped me know confirmation wise where I was and what I was doing, because I had a lot of things that I had to accomplish as Cassandra and life before I could actually even do these videos, even speak to a lot of people about this. There wasn't a timing and there was a lot of cleanup that I had to do. So after that blessing was done, I knew that I could sit up. And I said, thank you. We closed out the blessing. And I sat up and I felt very connected to everything. I felt connected to him. I felt, I guess the word would be, I didn't know it at the time, but I just felt clean and whole, and yet still had integration going on. And it was happening very fast. So I'm getting all the information. Okay, we got to get out this hotel and we're going to do this. And there was such kindness for everything that we had been through, such kindness in him, and a desire to help and a desire to understand it all. And as I was experiencing sitting up, I became fully aware of the physical body, and I looked at my hands and I went like this. And it's very, if I could describe it, it's with expression, not so much emotion and a feeling, but it was like, oh, yes, my hands. Okay, those are hands. This is my body. I wonder if who's ever viewing these hands, I look like the Cassandra previous, because I did not know. I just knew those are my hands. And I looked at him and I said, do I look like myself? Because it was very quantum, right? Like it was like, I just figured he knew. And I wondered if, because he knew what Cassandra looked like. If he looked at me, he would know, yeah, you look like Cassandra. You're yourself. Now let's go. And so I looked at him and I said, do I look like myself? And he looked at me and he said, I don't know. And I was like, it was so honest. It was so honest. And because the frequency was so big, so you're reading unconsciously, he's reading like the highest form of consciousness that we knew at that time. And his being is reading this. And he's also online with everything and accessing these higher dimensions, and not so much coming from his 3D physicality in that moment, unbeknownst to us. So we're just holding this frequency. He goes, I don't know. And so I thought it's best I probably look in the mirror. So I got up and I was like, oh, it's funny because going through all of that, it's okay, I can walk. I walked normal. It wasn't like, oh, I got an injury, now I got to walk. I just got up and I was like walking in this body. And I went, looked in the mirror, and I looked in the mirror like, oh, yeah, that's my face. Yeah, it's a pretty good face. Yep, this looks like me. Okay, so that satisfied me. It looked like me. And I had to see what me registered at. Telling it might seem super humorous, but it's like just a transference. So I just, okay, I look like me, I am me. So it's okay, that's going to go over well. Then I'll just, take all this consciousness that I am, and I'm now in this body with that complete self-awareness, and I'm going to participate all as one, and I have the knowledge and information in here, and then I could just start living the plan, which was that day and get out of the hotel. And then doing all that, I immediately did everything with gentleness and awareness. And I knew this is not how the other being lived. Like it was very fractured and detailed into the mind. And now I was embodied and everything worked as one. And I got to really just navigate myself through my body and movements with data, not with emotion, not really with feeling, but I was feeling whole and conscious as a vessel should feel, as we all should feel. I didn't have all of the extra stuff in my bio's energetic field anymore. I had instruction sets, but I did not have all the mind stuff that usually would cloud us when we're doing something. So we were able to get out of the hotel and go through and across a couple streets and get into another hotel and walk through a casino. And as I walked through the casinos, I knew what casinos were. It wasn't that I knew. I was just like, wow, these are casinos. Wow. Like I wasn't, wow. I was just, it was like I saw games in Las Vegas and I saw the ironies in it. And I was just like there without judgment and without anything. And he just led me through the casinos, checked us into the room so he could go up to the room and get me in the room. And really, because of everything that we went through, his mission was to find somebody that could help me because he could see that what might have appeared to him as someone who was like just gone through so much trauma, except for I was just so there. But still, I had to navigate what that meant for the new reality. And he was quite concerned that something that occurred, that he needed somebody else who maybe knew what this was. And he had scheduled that day to meet this doctor that he had met a couple months before who was going to be at this event, and they agreed to talk and they agreed to introduce me to them because they had said I was doing healing work. And he was so excited to introduce these people to me, the husband and the wife. And the wife did a lot of quantum, she did a PhD in quantum energetic medicine. And so he figured those were the people that could help us. So we went up to the room and settled in. And then his goal was to go find these people so that they could help me, because the language that we had on our journey previous was, there's this big frequency coming in. This is 2012 and all of our training and studies to try to understand the quantum world. Is there a God? Was everybody's going to get their light body. And we're just like, what is a light body? Like that sounds a little sketchy. When you're a Mormon, you're like, what's a light body? Like only Mormons can elevate themselves, right? Transfigure into a higher frequency because you're so righteous. So what's this light body? And he said to me, maybe you got your light body. I was like, maybe. I didn't have a lot of the language terms that people used here that made sense to me. I just had consciousness. And he said, he put me in the hotel room. I sat against the window and I just looked out at Vegas, and had a lot of experiences as I looked at things, and I was just connected into so many things, and I could read the memory of the body, how, oh, they would have felt this way. Oh, they would have experienced themselves this way right now. And none of that I was experiencing. I didn't even have a belief about it. I was just like, oh my word. I looked at the roller coaster out the window up on the roof going around, and I thought, wow. And then I saw like how fear would have participated in the body, and how this being would never go on a roller coaster because of the fear factor. And it was like a conversation with consciousness. And like, why would you fear anything? Anybody could go on the roller coaster. You could just, if you have no fear, you're just expression. And then I could hear, even though I couldn't hear, but I could feel the sounds of the people on the roller coaster and how fear even just pushed their adrenaline. And it was such a fascinating thing. So I was having, that's how I communicated inside myself. It was very multidimensional. And with the body memory, I could see how the fear might have taken over. And I would just be like, oh, this is what fear does. And this is what, how it participates. And you don't have to participate as this. And meanwhile, my husband was looking for this doctor and his wife. And when he came back to the room, he said, I found them. I said, hey, something's happened to my wife. I don't know how to explain it right now. Maybe she got her light body. And the wife put her hand on his shoulder and she said, it's okay. I help people integrate their light body. And he said he almost cried because he just felt so grateful. And he came to tell me that they were going to meet us after this afternoon meeting we were supposed to go to. And they were going to come up to the room and they were going to help us. And that satisfied me in that moment.